when you are more psycho-emotionally advanced than a man, than your partner, if you see something in him that he has never seen before in himself, and you just reach into his psyche and you just pull that out and wave it at him, you're depth psychologically taking his virginity in that moment, right? Without his consent, out of the blue. Like, you need to kind of think about it in those terms. And for him to dissociate, get angry, get upset, suddenly start to perceive you as someone who is threatening and potentially able to expose him.
Yeah.
And not just expose him to you, like expose him to himself. That's the more terrifying thing, right? You're showing him something that he's not just hiding from you, he's hiding it from him. It's so disturbing. So far, the summary of how we're dealing with these relationships from the get-go. We're tracking the patterns. We're connecting those 3 dots. We're looking for the snake, the complex, the mission that they are on, and the ways in which they are sabotaging that mission with you, relationally, connecting the dot to their life, their career, and then connecting the 3rd dot to their family trauma. So you have an understanding of that. And it's really it's robust. It's well documented. There's evidence. There's no conjecture. It's not intuition. You're repeating back to him the words he has given to you, the stories he has given to you, the evidence he has given to you. You're avoidant over here. Your dad was avoidant. You have that issue with work. Your boss has mentioned that. One thing that's so important is focusing when you're trying to motivate him, let's say with the intervention, that's the next part, you bring the intervention. The way that you're really motivating is not saying, I want this. That's not good leverage for a man. Because we kind of now know that if a man's mission becomes pleasing his woman, he's emasculated. So if you try to say to him, if you push too much on like what I want, what da da da, I mean, there are times to do that, but if you make that the priority, you emasculate him. If you say to him, this is important for your mission, for your healing, for your financial well-being, for your behavior with your superiors and your direct reports, for your impact and influence in the world. And I am also within that network and can help you with it. I can help catalyze that. And as you correct it and heal it with me, it'll overflow into that areas. That's the correct configuration. Once you've created that, without games, narrating everything, that's the really important thing. You're not playing games, you're narrating everything. You're not like not calling him back when he doesn't call. You don't play any of that. You play squarely the whole way through, and you're telling him, I'm calling you, and maybe you're not calling me back. I'm still checking in with you. Have you noticed you're not really checking? You're just narrating everything. And in so doing, making his choices and his actions and behaviors crystal clear. And then saying to him, I'm going to respond to your behaviors. You lean in, I lean in. You lean out, I tell you, you're leaning out. I'll lean in a little bit, but then I'll need you to lean back. Maybe I'll lean in twice, but I'm not going to lean in 3 times. See, that's where it's not a game. It's just an appropriate call and response. You can play twice. You can move twice. Don't move 3 times. Moving 3 times, then you're enabling. Then you're saying, I'll move for you. I'll do all the work. And if you move twice multiple times, that becomes moving 3 times. So you move twice, once on Monday, once on Thursday. By Friday, you get to say to him, hey, I just want you to know I moved twice on Monday. I moved twice on Thursday. And I'm just letting you know now. I'm letting you know that's happening. You haven't moved back to me. The ball is in your court. It's important now. And then you hold. You hold. That's the key. And that's where you start to work the leverage. Leverage is absolutely important. You see this in the therapeutic container. The leverage is that once you have tracked where he's not moving, you have shared that with him. You have given him everything he needs once, twice, but not 3 times. Then you hold and you say to him, it's really up to you now. You need to take a step towards me. And you say this lovingly, like, I would be enabling. I need to see something from you. This is a call and response. And if it goes further, then I would go so far as to say you have to call his bluff. And this is where we're going to get into the inner child piece. Many men will do this. And it's all unconscious. I'm not saying it's a sadistic or malevolent thing. But once again, they will meet you where you allow your self-respect to be met. And if you have a wound around abandonment, right? As they start to play chicken with you towards the cliff, you'll balk, you'll flinch. Then you'll play a 3rd time. Then you'll play a 4th time. Then you'll start to overgive because that inner child within you, which we'll get into in great detail, is saying, you're going to be abandoned, you're going to die. So you've got to flinch. You've got to overgive. You've got to move 3 times, 4 times. You've got to keep doing all the work. And then all you're telling him is, I'm willing to be your mommy. And you can suckle. You know, and that's a terrible place to be for everyone. So you will have to illuminate him on what's happening as the process is happening. Otherwise, he won't know. And then he'll create his own projections of what's happening. So you have to be extremely explicit. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, he's just going to be like, oh, you're just another this, you're another this. And you're like, no, I'm not. The only way for you not to unconsciously get entangled in his projections is when you narrate really clearly, we're doing this thing. And now you're doing this. And so I'm going to take some space, or I'm going to now give to you. So in this moment, I'm going to really step in. Maybe I'll come over. Let me make you some soup. I'm going to come over. I'm really going to care for you. I'm really caring for you, but I need to see something. Okay, I've cared for you. I've done the chicken soup. We've done the whole thing. Have you noticed? I really need a step forward. Why don't you think about it? The ball's in your court. Let's leave it for a day. Sleep on it. But I'd love to hear from you. It's time for me to hear from you, like tomorrow or the day after. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. 3 days later, you haven't heard from him. Then you call him, hey, and you pan out the whole thing again. I was there, da-da-da, gave it in your court. You're dropping the ball now. So what you're telling me is, like, and so then, and once again, it's up to you to decide your tolerance and how much you're willing to go. But there has to be a line. One thing that is absolutely clear is that if you're with a partner who's lovely, but in no way triggers the wound that the psyche is trying to heal, then you will drift from them. Uh-huh. Right? So if you have to heal an avoidant wound, the guy who's all up in your grill is going to be meh and boring to your psyche, because the wholeness growth of your psyche is not going to be on offer from that, because he's not going to trigger those neural nets, right, that relate to the lost capacities that trauma created in you, right? So usually what I've seen is that he has to be in a Goldilocks zone. He's a little bit avoidant, but he's workable. If he's not avoidant at all, your psyche doesn't see growth in that. If he's too avoidant, it gets triggered, but it won't be healed. So it needs to be a little bit, but enough to be workable. Because then every time you circle back together, the healing, the growth, like that, the endorphins just go through the roof. And that would be the hourglass process of, like, there's a rupture and then you come back, and there's a rupture and you come back. And that whole process is healing and empowering you. It's healing the wound that, like, he does come back, he does come back, he does come back. And it's empowering you because you're developing all those capacities you didn't have when you were a child to say, come back, speak your voice, stay in the fight. When you are more psycho-emotionally advanced than a man, than your partner. If you see something in him that he has never seen before in himself, and you just reach into his psyche and you just pull that out and wave it at him, you're depth psychologically taking his virginity in that moment, right? Without his consent, out of the blue. Like, you need to kind of think about it in those terms. And for him to dissociate, get angry, get upset, suddenly start to perceive you as someone who is threatening and potentially able to expose him.
Yeah.
And not just expose him to you, like expose him to himself. That's the more terrifying thing, right? You're showing him something that he's not just hiding from you, he's hiding it from him. It's so disturbing. When you're working with a man on a growth trajectory, you have to be very careful that when you reach into his psyche and show him something, that's a very provocative move.
Yeah.
And what you really need to do is get him prepared in advance of that. Say to him, hey, I see something. Before I pull on my rubber glove and stick it deep in your psyche and pull this thing out and show you, like, are you up for that? Like, do you want to do that together? Do you trust me to be the one who does that with you? Like, and have him look at you and be like, okay, that's weird. No, it's not. It's happening all the time. We just haven't really fully developed like a lexicon for it in culture, but it's happening all the time. And yes, women are more the surgeons than men in this scenario. Like, absolutely. Right? There's a reason, like every yoga class and personal development, spiritual class is like, 80% women, right? Women for 100 years through this process of feminism have really developed their interiority. And now you guys are the majority of the teachers for these men. But you just have to appreciate the fact that when you do this, you are the surgeon. And here's the key. They are your supervisor. So you're reaching in, you're guiding them into the underworld, but they're the passenger in that car who tells you that all the analysts who really know what they're doing since the beginning of time have identified that the deeper fear is not to be left alone because you're safe. The deeper fear is to really get close to someone. Because once you really get close to someone, they can die. That's the deeper fear. Or they can hurt you really badly. So you have to be aware that one of the deepest, they call it a claustrum anxiety. It's like claustrophobia. It's a claustrum anxiety. There's moments in the therapeutic container where I start to realize, like, we're getting close. We're locking all the doors. We're closing all the windows. And the deep work is going to start that the psyche wants. And these people start to freak out a little bit. And it's not because I'm doing anything wrong, or it's because, when they were left with the babysitter on their own, something went wrong. When they were left with the uncle, something went wrong. Or deeper still, I can't risk falling in love with you. I can't risk feeling love for you. Because the last time I did this, they died, or they betrayed me, or they left. And I can't risk that. And of course we have to. Only with those who are good, though. Only with those we can trust. We absolutely have to. I mean, I'm just like, you just call it everyone, as far as I'm concerned, really truly wants to be in a web of care. And we've all got these issues that get in the way of that. So when you start to be the individual that can feel, yes, we are good in this web. We're a good node. Be the leader that calls it out and begins to organize it into its place. Trust that you can do that, and people will fall into line, and be grateful that you did. It's the good father, it's the good mother in you, regardless of what gender you are. So every time you bring something, when they respond positively and they lean in, you lean in, and and in the beginning stages, that can be the romantic rewards that both of you enjoy because you have moved successfully through these gates of securing attachment. So intimacy is only the result of having moved through them successfully. You bring the intervention, they get it. You know, if you bring the intervention and the guy says, wow, that's really insightful of you. This is a little scary, but like, I kind of like what you're saying. And I kind of like the fact that it's not, you're not making it about you. You're making it about like, this is like my life, like my goals. And my goals are playing out with you. And you're willing to help me see that for my life. That would also help our relationship. Wow, let me get my head around that. But like, I guess, thank you. That's a great sign.
Yeah.
If the guy turns to you and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have trauma. There's no such thing. Like, leave.
Yeah.
And a lot of marriages and relationships are like that, you know, and you just, how many relationships do I know? The woman evolves, the man doesn't evolve, and it stretches it like a rubber band. And I always say, your only choices are either he grows a little bit or you subvert your soul's purpose. That's the only way the rubber band doesn't snap. And, you know, historically, women have done that. Women just give in and just, they stay where they're at and they suppress. I shouldn't even say women. I should say the feminine. The feminine suppress.
Yeah.
All the men that I've worked with in relationships, when they start to get into a relationship, I always tell them, it's so obvious. You have to delete all the fuck buddies from your phone. You have to make sure that any women who are friends who you run sexual energy with, you have to stop running sexual energy with them, because all of those things will contaminate the relationship that you're trying to build. And the partner feels it. The women certainly feel it. And I'll have arguments with these men. The man said, well, she was an ex-girlfriend or she's an old friend. And I can't just stop talking to her. And I'd be like, well, you don't have to stop talking to her, but you have to be utterly transparent with your new partner. And if you're running any sexual energy with them, if you're trying to build something with someone else, that is a betrayal. Don't think otherwise. It just is. And it's also part of your colostrum anxiety to actually get into a secure transformative relationship because you're hedging bets. And you're trying to transform a little bit with them. And then there's a moment at the beginning of the relationship where you have to close all the doors and get into it if you really want to do it. And the men that do it, they enter in. They die and they are reborn. The ones that don't, they're never going deep. They're hedging all their bets. And once again, the wife or the partner knows it. She can feel it. She can feel it. And then the phone becomes this untrustworthy artifact. You know that. How many relationships have I seen where it's like the phone is this thing? Don't look at my phone. Can I see your text? Why would you want to look at my text? Because I don't fucking trust you because you're running sex energy with other women. It's so obvious. And what they're doing in that moment, I'll tell you, depth psychologically, what someone is doing in that moment when they're trying to heal the feminine in them, what they do is they talk to you and they slowly open. They're going to be talking to you and they're looking at it. You don't forget, the conscious mind is talking to you, but the unconscious is looking at it, the corner of their eye. Out of the corner of their eye, they're watching you. And what they're doing is they're periodically opening into deeper, deeper areas of themselves, opening deeper and deeper and deeper. And they're watching you. Is she going to strike me? Is she going to cut me? Is she going to do anything? And what happens is they eventually bring out something that's really delicate. Say, what's she going to do? And that's the moment that you might shake because it dysregulates you, because that part of her is the vulnerable girl whose father left too. And that's the moment where you can't handle it. Mm-hmm. You flick or you do something. If you can sit through that and just give care and not move, she will bring it out. And then she will bring it back in and she'll close. And in that moment, healing will have happened to some degree. Because the unconditionally loving feminine archetype will have just touched that deep wound. And then it will have closed up. That's a completed process. You know what I mean? That's a completed process. Into the wound, you brought out the infection. The medicine touched it. It went back in and it was sewed up. That's the therapeutic process, essentially. And it happens in waves. opening, closing, opening, closing. But the client, or in this case, your niece, is always watching everything you do. If you are working with someone they know, if there's a betrayal in the system, that will completely undermine their ability to open up and do that process. Because the psyche will not open up and let you bring medicine and touch that place if it's contaminated with something else. Then it's iatrogenic. The cure contains a poison. Iatrogenic. You didn't want to share with me the other day the situation. What that told me was that I have lost your trust.
Mm.
And firstly, I want to apologize for that.
Mm.
That's a heartbreak to me. I'm absolutely here for you. I love you. And I want you to know that if I lost your trust, I want you to know that I'm going to do everything I can to regain it.
Mm.
And if you are open to talking to me about it, I would like to know how I did that. Because if I can find out from you how I lost your trust, how maybe I spoke out of turn, how maybe I spoke inappropriately, if you can tell me that, then I can make sure that I know exactly what never, ever to do again with you.
Mm.
And I will give you my word that I won't. And not only will I give you my word that I won't, but if I ever do again, I want to invite you to call me out immediately so that you can see, and here's in brackets, you can develop the inner masculine that you're looking for in your life, the inner boundary that you're looking for in your life with me. You can practice that boundary and I will honor it, which once again will go back to the healing of the wound and the empowerment by developing the lost capacity that the wound created. I say this in families all the time.
Yeah. Mm.
With parents and children, you should say to your children, you call me out anytime and I'm going to listen. When you do that with a client, when you do that with a child, like it empowers them and the trust skyrockets.
Mm.
Remember, the inner child is an inappropriate, maladaptive, defensive adaptation to trauma. The inner child is just a limiting belief wrapped in a negative emotion, anger, guilt, shame, fear, connected to a bunch of behavioral responses that actually only re-elicit the trauma. That's all an inner child is. It's the gestalt of all of that. So for example, if when you were a child, the way that you developed your defensive adaptation to the violence in your household was to get really quiet and say nothing and play possum, right? That might have saved you then in childhood, but it re-elicits the wound in adulthood. Because if someone attacks you and you play possum, what do you think is going to happen? You just make it easy for them. Getting upset, getting impatient. That might be something that pushes them away. Not connecting to avoid danger.
Mm.
That might maintain isolation and actually keep you in danger in the fact that like sometimes when you need some help, there's no one around to ask. And if you look back on your life, you will see that most of your conflicts and failed relationships will have included that pattern. The inner child does not believe it can hold your self-respect. It has to give in. It has to overcompensate. It has to overgive. It has to keep fighting. And the way that we work with the inner child is that you bring in the queen, the sovereign. The sovereign follows the patterns and the evidence of the present. The inner child is unconsciously driven by the experiences of the past.
Mm.
The queen changes the pattern. The inner child only repeats it. And so the process is you are defusing with the inner child. You are defusing, you are seeing them squarely in front of you, what they want to do, whether you're getting upset and speaking rudely, whether you're self-exiling too early because you're like, to hell with them, they don't know how to do it. All of these sound like inner child responses. In a conflict situation or an intense emotional situation, sleep on it. wait before doing something. Any knee-jerk response is usually an inner child. Any profound emotional response is an inner child. The courageous action is the sovereign. The classic overgiver inner child basically says, unless I cross my own boundaries and overgive, I won't be loved. If I don't overgive, I will be abandoned and I will die. And every inner child process that I've worked with is that at some point, you actually have to go up to that brinkmanship moment with whoever it is. And you have to be squarely looking at the inner child that's looking at you saying, overgive, cross your boundaries, lower your standard, abandon your self-respect. It's what we have to do. That is the 5-year-old. That is the defensive infantile adaptation to your trauma, speaking. And it's in a gestalt with a limiting belief wrapped in an emotion of fear, driving maladaptive behaviors. That's what it is. So you have to see all of that. And then you have to bring in the sovereign, the new courageous action within you that sees it and says to her, no, we're not going to lower our standard. We're not going to betray ourselves. We're not going to overgive. We're not going to do any of those things. And you're not going to die because I'm not going to leave you. And if they have to go, so be it, because they didn't care for us anyway. Because if they did, they wouldn't put us in this position. And then you hold that line. You actually hold that line. And if you need to, you make it very explicit to the other person. You can say to them, like, I'm actually at my boundary right now. And you have to give them the evidence again. I've given to you here, 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 and here. It's been months. It's been months. The more professional you are about it, the more evidence you have, the more catalytic and transformative this process will be. I can't express that enough. You have to be impeccable with your evidence. Most people are not. Most people are like, you never do this, you never do that. And it's just a bickering contest because there's no fucking evidence. Get the evidence, dump it. Say to them, here it is. Don't dump it. Bring it gently and lovingly, and then say, I'm not going to do this anymore. If you want to keep stepping towards me, I'll continue. But I'm not lowering the standard because I can feel it's eroding my soul. And I won't do that for this relationship. I won't do it for any relationship. And any relationship that requires me to do that isn't the right relationship for me. When you go through that, and then maybe the man calls your bluff and you say, namaste, and you go your own way, that inner child will slowly begin to be integrated, and you will change your archetypal field. And the sooner you do it with the next person who comes up and the next person comes up, you're upgrading that whole process. You're reducing the overgiving. You're upgrading the self-respect. You're upgrading the respect that you get from the other. And it will drive you into better relationships. Okay, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. It was awesome.